It's off exit 10, presented by Capital District Sport and Fitness.
Did you get Eric? I just want to make sure. I feel like I didn't.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you do got a nice voice. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the big show.
Oh, we should, Jake, put on the song. You should call us into a song right here.
I got you.
That's what we did on our podcast, actually.
You do a talk up to a song?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
What was the song? What can you talk up?
We would use
Was it Fugazi?
we would use like Rick Ross. We would use various like hip hop samples, and it would just come in strong, and Eric would be like, "And now from Troy, New York, Troy Innovation Garage, the whole thing."
Yeah.
So you're like what's his name on DNR in the morning when he's got to announce where they're like going from, and it's randomly into the show. All of a sudden they're like, "And this is DNR from New York."
Yes. Plus, we were trying to plug the Innovation Garage as much as possible because they were a good partner to us.
Is that a work share place?
Yeah, co-working space.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you guys link up to start the Troy Expos?
Well,
Hold
it
on.
actually begins. I was saying, Eric always tells the beginning of the story. It actually starts with Eric's Major League Baseball comeback attempt, but I'll let him tell the story.
Walking into Anytime Fitness about 2 p.m. I get a phone call, some random phone number. I was like, you know what? I'll answer it. Pick it up, and Ryan was on the other line. He said that he had, he got my number from one of our mutual friends, Vic Christopher, and we talked for an hour. Ryan talked literally for 57 minutes, and I talked for 3. We linked up, and actually Ryan, was a baseball lover. He's a baseball guy. He turned to my best friend, having that same kind of common interest, and showed up every single day, to train with me, to throw, to just be somebody that I can lean on, for the mental aspect, because I was trying to get back into baseball at the time. I felt like I had some more juice in me, just came off of 2 surgeries. I had tore both of my labrums in different years, but nobody likes broken toys in business, but I still felt like I could, get after it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's how it all began.
Because your career, you got drafted out of college.
Yeah. 2008 Lemoyne, and then got drafted in the 9th round to the New York Mets.
Right, your headphones okay over there?
They are right now. They're just one of those like little fidgety, like it was just cutting in and out.
Okay.
Yeah, what might help you a little bit is if you swap so the cables
Yeah.
on your left side give you a little more slack at least.
See?
Yeah, see, this is the biggest stuff with the pod is all the technical stuff.
No, it's great.
That's why I'm afraid to do a Zoom, because I'm like, God, if shit starts going wrong in a Zoom.
Yeah.
I'm also a professional DJ, so I deal with all this
Oh,
sound
no
stuff
shit.
all the time. Yeah.
Like, what do you, events, weddings?
You know what's funny? Everyone always asks me about weddings is always the first thing they say,
Yeah.
and those are the things that I literally do the least. Hate doing weddings. Weddings are the worst.
You want to get hypey? Ryan Parker.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. He's at McGarry's last
No,
night in
it was at
Albany.
McGarry's last night. No, it's been great. I've worked for Northern Lights Entertainment in Boston for over 20 years now, and it honestly just started off as like a hobby when I was a kid, and it's blown up into this lucrative side gig. So we're just gonna keep it going.
What's
Hey,
the
why
one
not?
club in Boston that, I'm not a club guy, but Sam and I would go sometimes. Is it Royale?
Right.
Dude,
That's one of the clubs.
I've had
Yes.
some Royale nights, yeah.
Yes. Probably very memorable. But anyway, we digress. we could have a whole other podcast on Boston nightlife and stories
Royale, and right down the street is Centerfolds.
like that. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
We could go, we'll go there another time.
Yes. We'll do a podcast from there.
Sign
Go there
me up.
immediately.
Shut down the gym right now.
Absolutely.
That's road trip.
But yeah, baseball's such a, I don't know, it's a unique sport. I feel like, we all end up here today speaking to each other because of baseball.
Yeah.
But we all have these different paths, right? Our careers all probably went to a certain length, some of us longer than others, but we kind of grew to love the game, and it molded us into who we are today and our careers that we have today. Yeah, now the work you guys do with kids. But
Back to what he was saying in
Yeah.
terms of like kind of completing that story. Like he said, Vic Christopher was serving as his agent as at the time, working on his major league comeback attempt. And I had recently come home to work for St. Peter's Health Partners and put my coaching career on hold, but was sort of chomping at the bit in terms of being able to stay involved and work with pitchers and things like that. And, you know, I saw Vic talk about or post about Eric, and I said, you know, I need to get with your boy and, you know, possibly work with him and, you know, join forces, so to speak. And much to Eric's credit, number one, he took my phone call. He listened to my whole pitch. And
57-minute pitch.
Yeah, literally. It's actually true.
Straight
no, it
passion
was.
and
It was
energy.
just, I was so fired up and it was such a great opportunity. And you know, much to Eric's credit, again, when we first got together at Hudson Valley and, you know, I watched him throw and, you know, I said, hey, just a couple thoughts. And he listened and it just kind of got the ball rolling. But ultimately, the greatest byproduct of that time and us linking up really was the Expo. I mean, we had a couple of great tryouts for the Yankees and for the Pirates, and a lot of chatter about, you know, possibilities for you signing contracts or playing independent ball or whatever. But ultimately, you know, the Expo grew out of it because as we were there working together independently, we were both working with numerous, you know, youth in the area and personal training and pitching lessons and all these things. And we kind of had this momentum swirling around us. And I had worked on a similar project in the Boston area a few years prior in terms of doing a nonprofit organization that sponsored this kind of activity. And, you know, ultimately the Expo was born there. But I also think, you know, Eric had, you know, some profound moments along the way in terms of figuring out like what to do with life outside of baseball. And that's really driven a lot of what we've done.
Yeah. I mean, had a tryout with the Pirates and the Yankees. It felt good. It's thrown 95 in January. You know, but I remember throwing with Ryan one day at the Waterville Dome, and I turned to him and I was pretty emotional at the time because I felt like, you know, it was just coming to an end, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life if this doesn't work out? You know, and it was like this moment of epiphany, you know, to just go all in for 27, 28 years and then, you know, not have this kind of purpose that, you know, I would once have. It was tough, you know, and the Expo, you know, then was formed because we started thinking about, you know, what can sports do for you other than just, you know, get you wins and losses, get you with the team, you know, give you these lessons, but how can we pair that up with your real life? You know, at the end of the day, you know, how do you take feedback? You know, do you work well in a team? You know, can you check the ego at the door? And, you know, we decided to go down that path.
And alongside all the baseball reasons, I felt we both feel really strongly about where we grew up and the fact that, you know, for example, Troy, Watervliet, Cohoes, et cetera, are some of the most financially stressed school districts in the area. And I just kept repeating to myself or asking myself over and over again that if you go by the statistics, you know, chances are my family, you know, growing up in Watervliet, New York, et cetera, would not have been able to afford the cost of what travel baseball is today. So therefore, does that mean that I wouldn't have gone on to play college baseball? Does that mean that I wouldn't have been able to?
Isn't that crazy to think? I mean, the world of travel sports has changed so much since we were kids. It's wild, and one of the biggest changes is just the cost to even enter into that world.
Right.
It's like, Eric, what was baseball for you growing up? Like for us, it was you played Little League and Junior Little League, and then maybe Legion Ball, and like that was it. And those costs are minimal.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. Baseball and sports kind of in general have become this country club kind of atmosphere. You know, you need to pay to play, you know, to pay to get exposure, really. Right. And for me, it was Spring Little League over in Troy, then went to Troy High, played Legion Ball, formed a team in the summer, all Troy kids. You know, my varsity coach, my father would coach that. Then I went to Lemoyne. You know, it wasn't anything crazy. Played in the Empire State Games 1 year, but that's really it.
The Empire State Games were like the main ticket out of town when I know I was in high school. Like my whole goal in high school was not only to like win sectionals or whatever, but to make the Empire State Games because I knew that was the only way that we were going to get that kind of exposure at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember my senior year of high school, 1997. That was the first summer where I saw teams like I don't know if we're naming people, but there was the South Troy Dodgers where it was no longer just like South Troy kids. It was like they were starting to pull from other teams and
to
create
me,
these like
that
super
was,
teams.
That was the earliest, like, kind of, I don't even want to use the word elite. I think that's silly, but one of the bigger travel programs around here.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The Dodgers were kind of the founders of that.
Yeah.
You know, George Rogers over there has done a great job.
Absolutely.
You know, he's a baseball legend in the area. You can't really knock him for, you know, what he's done for the kids and the community around, getting kids big D1 scholarships, getting kids drafted. I mean, there's people hanging on your wall that went to Dodgerland.
Yeah, Hoff back there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's a good organization, you know, and they do a great job. They've always done a good job. I kind of steered away from that when I was younger. You know, just kind of felt like it wasn't for me. You know, it wasn't for the guys that I surrounded myself with. So we literally, you know, made this new baseball team, the Collar City Cyclones, throwing it way back.
So actually, a really interesting point. When I started coaching when I was 22, I was coaching American Legion. We were in the playoffs, and we played against that team, and Eric pitched against the team I was coaching. Really strange. They just had this.
What was the Legion team?
It was the Watervliet Green Island Yankees, I think, actually.
Okay. Yeah, we used to play, maybe, was it the Troy area? I know Nobles was the coach of this Melvin Rhodes team back in the day.
They were part of that. They were part of that league. Absolutely.
They were nasty. We were playing in Hudson Legion, and that was always like our biggest local competition every
Absolutely.
year.
Yeah. So part of that, like that state tournament, I think Melvin Rhodes was actually in the finals with us. Yeah, we are taking it way back. But I just always kind of reflect on that. I remember seeing Eric as like a sophomore in high school, and you know, being a tall drink of water out there,
Stick figure,
but
just-
unbelievable. But like, you know, you could tell
cheese.
somebody was going to blow up, and
Well,
here we
I
are
think
now.
elaborate on now because right, our gym's in Clifton Park, and Clifton Park can be diverse in terms of people's like socioeconomic, you know, status
Yeah.
and their family's income and how the family structure is set up. You know, in our world, we're a private gym. You know, we see kids who are more well off and families who are more well off, and kids who have access to a lot of things and a lot of opportunities. But I guess explain to people, if some people haven't wrapped their head around, if your family isn't as well off, you're not, you know, in a financial spot where you can be spending money on lessons and travel teams, like how much of a disadvantage can that put a kid at? And the sad part is that, like, how young of an age, you know, can...
I mean, you know, again, going back to the time that Eric and I were working together, at the time I was working with a teenager whose mother, single mom, was working basically numerous jobs, had picked up a part-time job to be able to afford for her kid to play travel sports. And that to me was, I don't know, I like couldn't get that out of my head. And also too, if you go by, you know, I'm going to use All Stars Academy as an example, where they have on their front board outside, it's like $2 per token for like a round of batting practice. And again, I kind of went back to that analogy of like, if I'm, you know, again, statistically from Watervliet, Troy, Cohoes, some of these areas where, you know, money is tight, if I want to make the high school baseball team, I got to take some rounds of BP. So it's $2 a round. I do that, you know, 20 times or whatever. It's $40. Like, not to say, you know, who can and can't afford that. But in a lot of cases, people have to make decisions between buying gas, buying food, et cetera. They're not going to be able to pay for that that expense.
And there's no question, you know, the kid's talent level when you seek extra help and you have that kind of extra guidance from, you know, somebody like yourself or somebody like Ryan, or somebody that's experienced it, that's well-rounded, well-versed in training and mechanics, baseball, you know, acronym, and, you know, just in general. It's a sheer difference between, you know, somebody that just kind of goes along with the program, just does it in practice and doesn't do any extracurricular things, comparatively to, say, working, you know, with you for, you know, 2 times a week, an hour each time. You know, you do that for a year, you know, there's a huge gap in between those two kids, you know, just by, you know, athleticism, you know, talent level, the mental aspect of the game. You know, I'm sure you talk mental to all the kids.
Big piece.
You know, and so it's a sheer gap, and that's really what the Expo was formulated for, was to bridge that gap, you know, to bring that experience and, myself as an ex-pro athlete and, Ryan as a college coach, to shorten that window and give them a, first-class experience, no matter what it was. I don't know, I'm like $100 and something an hour, and you have to take multiple lessons to actually get better at baseball. It's not just a one and done kind of thing. It's an investment, that you really have to decide for your kid that you're going to go down this path because it's going to be probably thousands and thousands of dollars, and so then again, that's when we talk about that kind of gap and, filling that.
And we determine that there's absolutely kids getting left behind.
Of course.
It's the biggest deterrent. The overall cost, in a lot of cases, transportation. And then even once we have them there and we're working with kids and whatever, they go back home and they just have a lot of barriers in their life, whether it's socially, whether it's in their family, whether at school, whatever. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle, but we have this like opening where it's like baseball is like the hook, right?
Yeah.
And we offer it with there are no barriers. Like there's no cost. You can attend, you can sign up, you sign our waiver and participate. And it's really, I think, open up a lot of avenues for kids that may have not had the chance otherwise, or maybe not have developed at the same rate. And now we're 7 years into this, and we've kind of been able to see the trends and see how it plays out long term. And now that we're moving down to like the younger division, we've been mainly focused on like the 18 and under crowd. Now that we're kind of going to the other end of the spectrum and working with like the new Little League graduates, so like the 12-year-olds through like the 14, 15-year-olds, now our program's even bigger, I think, because people are much more responsive to it. We're providing a lot more access, and people are getting a lot out of it, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming right out of Little League, a lot of people say, where do I go? What can serve me to try to get to me to the next level? And, we found just a little bit better attendance when, we don't try to pick them out at 16, right. 17, 18. They're committed. Yeah. Everybody's played sports here. You want to be with your boys at that age. You know what I mean? Your parents have, got cliques in that, to where you're chilling with them. And, it's something that we wanted to do, and we want to have this as prosperous as we can, to give it to as many people as we can. Kind of goes along with the purpose.
Yeah. Well, I like the baseball as a hook, and then your 3 pillars that you talk about. Yep. So let's get them in the door. Let's have them meet us with baseball. But then like there's so many layers and levels
absolutely
beneath that. Yeah. Talk about the 3 pillars and how you're helping kids just, off of the baseball field as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the 3 pillars: baseball, academics, and workforce development. The purpose of the Expo, as we literally wrote it out, is to increase or improve the financial viability of all the participants. So again, we're looking around Watervliet, we're looking around Troy, Cohoes, etc. Families need help, and a local politician said a few years ago, like, the government isn't coming to help like the little guy, and it's like, well, who is, right? And so it's like, who's on the ground actually like engaging these folks and talking to them about possibilities and how they can get from point A to point B. And the Expo is like our response to that, right? So it's really aimed towards, again, using baseball and using student athletes, their passion for playing, their passion for practicing, and all those things to kind of get the ball rolling. But then we're engaging them very directly about, what else are you interested in? How's school going? What trouble are you having? What are you excelling at? What are you thinking about for the future? Is it college? Is it a trade? Is it work in general? Is it help deciding what your career is going to be, et cetera? And then moving into sort of like the workforce development phase, which is the networking. Who do we know that we can put you in touch with that may have the job that you want in the future? How can we surround you or put you next to a business leader in the community that you can just sort of shadow and learn from, all the way up to placing kids into jobs?
Yeah. I mean, after baseball, it was tough for me, and this whole idea of bringing it to the Capital Region really stemmed from, Ryan and I having a relationship as well. And then me going, what the hell am I going to do with my life? I lived it. I breathed it.
You did how many
I
years?
died for it.
How many years of minor league baseball did you play?
6, 7. something like that.
So-
Went up to Canada, played over in the independent league. So like six years, got a cup of coffee in the big leagues for about 30 days when the Orioles went to the playoffs. And, that was something that was super special to me too. But, it doesn't last forever. Whether you're in high school, college, you play 20, 15 years in the pros, 10, whatever it may be. What do you want to do with your life when you wake up in the morning? Yep. You don't want to wake up and be a bum. What are your interests? And that's really what we try to do, is cultivate that in the younger minds, to be able to have them go, okay, you know what? I was shown this. I like it. So we try to bring all those aspects to the Expo to give them exposure. The Expo is for the expose of the talent around the capital region. Whether
and not just on the field.
Absolutely.
Like whatever their talents, whatever their passions are, like how can we put that on full display for people how can we showcase that, right?
It's a big piece, because you're a little kid, you want to play in pro sports, and you be like Eric, where, hey, you get the opportunity to, and you ride that for as long as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But then, the higher percentage of us is when that dream's done.
Right.
Well, Eric uses the analogy all the time. Like even Derek Jeter, when he retired, had to say, "Okay, like
what
now
do I
what?"
do?
It's like,
and he said it. Kobe Bryant did it. JJ Redick said it.
Absolutely,
and whatnot. And like the other thing is, with you guys obviously getting the kids in there at a younger age, is you're probably avoiding some of the barriers that get put in there from the ages of 12 to 16.
Yeah,
that are tougher to break down. But you're also like, the amount of times I've had a kid in here and said, "I've never thought of being able to do something like this as a job." Or as a career. And then they go, all of a sudden now, 4 years later, they're going to school for exercise science.
Yeah,
dude.
And
absolutely.
It's like, so you're providing not only obviously different opportunities to see their strengths, but then providing them literal exposure to somebody that went through every level and now has figured out a way to still be involved. And they may have never even realized like that was a thing that they could do.
100%.
And now they can potentially give back.
Absolutely. At the first initial practice every single season, I ask everybody, all the kids, who wants to go pro? Obviously, everybody raises their hand. Mm-hmm. That percentage, I break it down to them. I'm like, maybe one of you will be able to get there. Mm-hmm. What's everybody else's thoughts and dreams on their own life?
Yeah. What year did you get drafted?
2008.
I mean, how much harder is it now than in 2008 to even get drafted and get assigned? Because they cut teams.
Was that 40 rounds when you were?
It's 40.
That's
yeah.
What they do now? Drafts in half. Teams
20,
are way less.
It's like 20. It's like 25, 25.
The business of baseball changed a little bit.
Time.
When Manfred got rid of the 20, 30, 40, I don't even know how many teams, it really also highlighted the independent ball teams. Mm-hmm. So they have an opportunity as well. Is it a harder path? Absolutely. To be able to get there through independent ball, then you got to go the affiliated baseball all the way up, and then to baseball, pro ball itself. But the pathway is definitely a little bit harder, because of the minor league teams getting, kind of dismembered.
And I have a complex opinion on this, and it's strictly my opinion, but it's more of an observation, some of it factual. But, a lot of the trimming of the draft had to do with Major League Baseball's investment into sort of the global scale of finding players, right? The international market, and being able to look at, rounds 25 through 40, and did they really produce, Major League ball players over the long term? And basically the answer was no. For an American player now on a global scale, it's more challenging to get drafted because there's less amount of draft picks. But somehow, amongst all this travel baseball and all these things, whatever, the product of American baseball is kind of tilted downward, right? Like the sport is losing some people.
Why do you feel like that's because of travel baseball? Or
Well, because honestly, I don't think it's because of travel baseball, but for example, being a college recruiter on the road and seeing a lot of games and travel ball baseball games, whatever, it's like the talent is like slightly tipped over. But what that does is it makes it more clear, or gives more opportunity to the players that do go about it the right way. The ones that are investing in training and getting stronger and getting better, they have a better chance of getting seen no matter where you are. It used to be if you lived in a certain part of the country or things like that. We've seen in recent years here, we've had multiple draft picks out of this area. Yeah. Number 2, what was Ian Anderson, number 2 pick overall?
Right. Yep. Right. First round.
Kennedy went.
Yeah.
Mike Kennedy most recently.
Shout out Troy High.
Troy High, absolutely. So it's not like a somewhere out there thing, but I think that it's more challenging in terms of there being less space. But I think there's almost more opportunity for players to stand out, like as they do the right things on the
Right.
field. and
Are
off
you
the
saying
field.
that because you feel like the quality of the baseball and everything is going down, and now the higher quality players are standing out more?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's interesting you say that, and you compare it to the global, because I just saw a video of Gino Auriemma, the
Yep.
UConn coach for women's, talking about in basketball terms that in America we play too many games and we don't practice enough.
Yes.
And then in Europe, you have these guys, the Luka Doncic, the Nikola Jokic, all these guys coming from Europe, and they practice all week long and maybe play 1 or 2 games a
Yeah.
week, and they're coming over way more skilled.
Yes.
Whereas everybody here is relying on being athletic, and then they get to the pro level, and now they're behind.
Yes.
Or they get to the high college level, and they're behind. So I think it's interesting that you said that with baseball too, because it is probably very similar. Too many games and not enough actual development.
Yeah.
Baseball, using baseball as an example, baseball is very counter to American culture in a way where, we want instant gratification, we want results
Yeah.
right now, things like that. Baseball's
Not that.
fucking hard, right? It's very challenging. It's the amount of time you have to invest, the amount of failure you face. It's they want it to be easy. That's the best way I can
I
say
think
it.
that's where kids struggle, is because they just want outcomes. I want to throw, 90 whatever miles an hour, and I saw on fucking TikTok a couple of these drills. I'm gonna do these drills. I'm gonna work my way to 90. It's like, no, the process to get there is so much.
And even if
greater
you get
than
to
that.
90, can you get that guy out?
Right.
And then get the next guy out?
Because
Right?
that's something
Then-
I say in here all the time to kids, especially because we're dealing with weightlifting.
Yeah.
And kids want to put more and more weight on the bar. And I use baseball as an example. I'm like, if you can throw 95 and get nobody out, does it matter? And they go, no. And I was like, so I don't care what you put on the bar.
Correct.
But as a coach in the Cape and a college coach and college recruiter, are there magic velo numbers where when you see it, you go, that velocity that you have is an entry for me to take a look at you?
I mean, absolutely, but it almost more sharpens my view of, or my perspective of, pitchability and stomach. Like, do they really compete and unwavering? There was a kid last week. I was down on the Cape, and I saw a kid from Chatham, 93 to 95, like gorgeous, and one of the older gentlemen sitting in front of me turned around and was like, "Oh, this guy, whatever." But and yes, it looks great, but when you really watched him pitch, he had some limitations that you wonder, how will that translate going forward? Now, again, I'm not saying who the kid was or anything like that, and he could go on to become a Hall of Famer. I don't doubt that he has the physical ability to do that, but it's greater than just those metrics, right? Or being able to achieve a mile per hour or a spin rate or whatever. It's being able to, be competitive, be mentally tough, and the willingness to continue to train and prepare for those moments. Again, I think a lot of things that haunt some of the best players are, once they achieve success, they sort of like ease off, or they feel like they got it licked, or they get to a certain level of
They hit the finish line.
achievement, and it's like, oh, I've arrived, and that's fine. That's fine, but that's where the plateau starts, or that's where the game catches up to them.
The difference between Hall of Famers and elite athletes is that right there. It's just this pursuit of trying to get to perfection, continuously every single goddamn day.
Yeah.
And you have to fall in love with it. You have to fall in love with the process
Mamba
and the
mentality.
progress. Absolutely.
100%.
And it's so true, though. It's the easy, fundamental way to be able to continue on with whatever dream or goal that you have being able to do that takes somebody a certain something mentally from somebody. They have to be able to be mentally cognitive of themselves, and that right there is tough to do when you're that age. I didn't know shit from shit when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like, I had to be able to go through the shit to be able to understand that I can get through the shit. And so in doing that, it had me formulate this kind of mentality that I would then carry through in the next, I don't know how many years I had that mentality.
What do you feel like was the first real going through shit for you? Was it high school to college? Was it then going from college to minor league ball? Was it something else?
It was when I broke my ankle. I was 12 years old. I had pins and screws in it. I was freaking extending to go to first base, trying to beat out a ball from shortstop, overextended, kind of like Jason Kent did, the catcher from the Pirates.
Oh my God, yeah, I remember
that-
Jason Kent.
Just same exact thing happened to me. So I broke my ankle. My dad tells me I was flailing around on the ground like a fish, but I was strong.
I mean, you were 12.
Exactly. But in that sense, I played multiple sports at the time. I had football in the fall, and I just had pins and screws in my ankle. And I was like, as a 12-year-old kid, I was like, how the hell am I going to get through this? But it showed me the importance of the little things at that point. And athletes, because at that point I was too worried about how much weight I could put on the bar instead of the pre and post, things that I needed to do to be prepared even for the next day. And having that kind of strategy or that mindset continues you on this upward progression. It's really like a staircase. You want to staircase your performance, and you want to staircase like your growth. You're going to plateau, then you're probably going to jut up a little bit, then you're going to plateau, then you're going to jut up. That when you plateau, you need to be mentally able to continue on.
That's a well put.
Yeah.
Kids have to understand when they're just walking on the flat part of that stair, that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And then it just comes, do you absolutely love it? Because you have people walk away at that point or just go, I'm good enough, or hey, this is fine. Do you love it, and are you passionate about it enough to continue on the journey? And that's up to the individual. That's up to, what they want to do with their life. Everybody gets to that point there. If you can somehow push past and go forward and toughen it out and have, quite frankly, like, a killer mindset, you will be successful no matter what it is.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter what it is.
No matter what it is. And that is what we try to give the kids at the Expo. It's not just about this baseball game. Baseball is just this one thing in your life that can teach you some hard ass lessons to really be able to set you up for your life if we can use them in the right way. So Ryan and I really try to give the messaging a little bit different than, say, just a travel ball coach. A travel ball coach is just talking about baseball.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you running up the line, even when you know it's an infield fly, and busting your ass down first base. Why? Because at the end of the day, he could drop it. You're giving up. You're giving up on yourself, your teammates, the game itself. Do you want to perform like that? Are you that person? And those questions start really resonating with the younger kids to be able to be like, you know what, I am better than that.
The supplement industry is like the Wild West. The lack of regulations mean the supplements you purchase may not even contain the ingredients listed on the label, which is why I get my daily vitamins and supplements from Thorne. Thorne vitamins and supplements are made without compromise. Quality ingredients ensure your body optimally absorbs and digests your daily supplements, while in-house and third-party testing ensure you're getting exactly what you paid for. Thorne offers a variety of health tests reviewed by board-certified physicians that evaluate your lifestyle, gut health, sleep, stress hormones, and metabolic markers to determine which vitamins and supplements may be most effective in helping you feel and perform better throughout the day. For college and professional athletes, Thorne has NSF-certified supplements that make sure you won't get pop positive on a drug test. Whether you're an athlete, professional, parent, grandparent, or weekend warrior, Thorne's selection of high-quality supplements can help improve your quality of life. Switch to Thorne's high-quality and extensively tested supplements today at thorne.com/u/CDSF. That's thorne.com/u/CDSF. This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Bombas. Bombas makes my favorite pair of socks, hands down, alongside the most comfortable and durable underwear, t-shirts, and other everyday clothing staples. Their wide variety of sock lengths, colors, and patterns have you covered, whether you're working out, going out, or lounging at home. I love their merino wool blend athletic ankle sock for long days of coaching at CDSF and getting in workouts myself. And if I'm at home doing work around the house, you better believe I'm wearing my Bombas Sunday slippers with their comfy memory foam midsole. And when you buy from Bombas, you're also buying for those in need. For every item you purchase, Bombas donates one item to people in overnight shelters, transitional living facilities, rehab centers, Title I schools, and medical service professionals. Take my word, if you want to upgrade your sock game to one that's more comfortable, durable, fashionable, and charitable, head over to the Bombas link in this episode's description to browse their full collection of everyday wear, and don't forget to use code CDSF20 for 20% off your first order. You know what I don't like about travel programs is when, or even I see some gyms that are like this, and like, yes, we'll post the kids working out, we'll show the product we're giving, but when you really are riding your marketing on a kid committing to college, do you know what I mean? Like, I committed this kid when they're this age, and that's like a marketing platform for somebody. Drives me crazy. I'm like, if that was my kid and they're using them like that,
Right.
I feel like I would not be happy about that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it goes back
Absolutely.
to what Eric said about exposure, and it's like I hate even saying it. It's like we live in this world of social media and announcing things, I'm going to whatever.
Gift and a curse.
It's just it is a gift and a curse, but it's like sometimes it's the cart before the horse a little bit, and it just shifts the focus from where it could be, should be, etc., and puts it on something that seems important and seems like a big deal and stresses, honestly, the wrong things. If a kid is going to continue to progress and make it to the next level, or they get to the big college, and then are they good, or are they like ready to keep taking it even even further?
Am I wrong to think that some people may pressure a program may pressure a kid to commit to a school early to say they've done it, or commit to a school to say they've gotten committed, but it's the wrong school for a kid?
1,000%.
Yes.
And honestly, it's such a big motivation within what we do, because we see a lot of that happening. And the sad thing about it is, especially when kids commit early, it's actually limiting. It's more harm to them than good. It's limiting their options in the future. It's making a very premature decision when it doesn't need to be made yet. And it only benefits the school or the team or the organization that is sort of, using that as some kind of marketing, basically.
Well, and the other thing with that too is if you have a kid commit early, how much more is that program investing into that kid now for the next, let's say it's 2 years,
Good thought.
right? How much more are they investing in him, or he's already signed, I got to move on to the next one. And then does that kid, what's his mentality? Does he think that scholarship or that commitment is the finish line? And
Yes.
now they get a little
More often than
lackadaisical,
not, yes.
a little bit of lazy,
Yes.
or they stop doing certain things that help them get to that point, and then they go into college and they're like, shit, I'm behind.
Yeah.
And now they're playing catch up for the rest of that.
Absolutely. And you can see that also in the divisions, right? D1, D2, D3, JUCO. If
JUCO bandits.
JUCO, absolutely.
I think some of the craziest dudes I know.
JUCO bandits.
Fucking some Herkimer guys. That's who they are.
Pretty much Herkimer guys.
I love that. I coach up at Hudson Valley right now. I'm like, I do a couple things here and
nice.
there.
Yeah.
You play at Joe Bruno, right?
Yeah.
That's like great.
You'll play against my brother
unbelievable.
in the spring next year. Then he's going to Columbia Green.
Oh, hell yeah. Columbia Green's a good school. But you can see that also transfer from Division I, Division II, Division III, and JUCO. The D1 guys, that go there and get that kind of early scholarship, they have a higher percentage of falling off than, say, a D2, D3, and so on and so forth, because D1, I did it. I did it D1.
They made the post.
We got
made
it. Right, I got it. We did it. And that's where kind of the hunger and the passion and the love kind of fizzle out. And you see that in a higher percentage or statistic at D1, a little bit lower at D2, D3, and so on and so forth.
And I also think you see that too, because as you get to higher levels, you were talking about that staircase, those plateaus, those stairs, the plateau part is longer.
Yes.
Because you only have this much more that you can add in, or this much more. It's only a little bit each time. So the plateaus are longer, the steps ups are shorter than when you were in middle school, high school, early college. So now, how much are you willing to stay in that plateau and continue to grind out while you're doing that? And that's where, like you said, you might see that kid that committed early fall off into maybe transfers to a Division II or Division III, has a great career and loves it, but like you hope that doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
Ryan, how much different is the college role now with the transfer portal being how it is and money moving around way more?
I'd be rich. That's
Honestly,
for sure.
it's
Yeah, do you think about that though? And you
Dude,
go,
yes,
explain
absolutely.
though, because as a former athlete, it's like I'm all for kids getting paid. They're making the school money. Give them some.
You'd be rich unless
some
you lived in
kicks.
Canada. We're from Canada. Because Zachy didn't make a dime.
That's true.
But no, explain, because we know kids just this past summer, D1 to D1 transfer school, they got a scholarship and they got some money in their pocket now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I went to Lemoyne. There was no other team in Syracuse. Syracuse University does not have a men's baseball team. Lemoyne was the baseball in Syracuse. And I think back on it, I was like, damn, I was pretty decent to be able to probably get a couple bucks here and there from a couple different sponsors or whoever they have
or at least
whatnot.
some free products.
Right. I was like, God bless, freaking 15 years younger.
But like Ryan, so we had on last year Dan Gableman. He's the Union strength coach, works primarily with the hockey team. They won it in 2013 maybe. And he said, I don't think we'll ever win it again because if I get a couple good freshmen and they're studs, they're gone next year.
Yeah.
They're going to some bigger school, and that's that.
It's just honestly, it's just kind of made a mess of everything. I understand the same thing. I understand time for money, the likeness, there's definitely some gray area there that needed to be addressed.
But carte blanche is crazy.
What's that?
Carte blanche is crazy.
Carte blanche is crazy.
Go do it.
And even honestly, this week it's been a tough week in college baseball with the coach from A&M and that whole debacle. It's like,
What did he say? Like, I'm not. He just
said
spoke his
right-
loyalty and
basically
then
took
just left.
exception to the question of if he was considering taking the job or the rumors or whatever, and then blasted the reporter, and then within 24 hours had taken the job, and it's just so disingenuous. I guess the part for me was I was really lucky to come up in a college baseball program.
Are you still at Wheaton right now?
No,
Okay,
no.
okay.
2 years ago was my last season there.
Okay.
So did he just miss our guy?
Well, you were there with was McNeff there when you were there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
And then you coached with Milano? Is that true with Matt?
I coached with Milano.
I was
correct,
thinking
yeah.
more McCarroll.
Yeah,
Oh, and McCarroll?
Ryan McCarroll was like so I coached Ryan McCarroll when he was 15 playing in Clifton Park. Kind of, got to know him then. A few years later, he pitched against the Expos and diced us up. And there was another college coach there. And I was like, over my dead body, are you going to that school? Like, you need to. And I knew he was kind of under the radar at the time. And, I knew everything that Wheaton had to offer. I knew he was a small school product coming from Spa Catholic. I knew that he was kind of what we were looking for in terms of person and competitor and pitcher. And so he ended up coming to Wheaton, and much to his credit, he really kind of blew up over the past few years, and I don't want to say like as I predicted, but there was a lot of indications that was possible, and I think he's taken all of his opportunities and has made the most of them. He's had some success on the Cape. I know he's down there right now. Had one start under his belt so far, and is moving on to Northeastern University. Where he'll have a chance to maybe play further into the future, which is good for him.
And Boston's great. He can go to Royale.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And
He might end up there.
and he could go to Centerfolds, but I'll tell him that.
But he's
later
not
on.
outside the family because actually a former player, Wheaton alum, coach at Wheaton, Frank Holbrook is an assistant coach at Northeastern University, and was happy to welcome Ryan with open arms. And but I told Ryan even the other day, I said, we're keeping it in the family though, so it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but the transfer portal. So now you don't have to sit out a year if you go somewhere, and money can exchange. So it's just you feel like it's a mess. But it's never going to go back. This is where we're at.
Yeah, it's just something where I think again it goes back to like why, in terms of college baseball, transfer portal, things like that. Why are you playing baseball? Why are you playing baseball? Why are you playing college baseball? Is it to get drafted? Is it to be a part of a championship? Is it just to play because it's something you want to do? Is it, there's various reasons. And I think if you're building a program, really getting at the heart of the kids you're recruiting and like why they're playing and what their interest is. And then also how does the college itself align with their professional goals? Is sort of the best chance to sort of combat that fluidity that has now happened with people being able to kind of come and go and change their mind or not like the situation and, bail or do really well and get other offers and then leave. So it's harder to keep a group intact. It doesn't mean that it can't happen. It's just a really, just a different, landscape nowadays, fortunately or unfortunately,
I was going to say, I feel like there's positives and negatives. There just hasn't been enough regulations put in for both name, image, likeness, and the transfer portal to maximize it the way it should be.
Yeah.
It's like free agency, right?
No, it really is. It really is.
And then the other thing you run into, and this was from like a guy in the NFL that was talking about it, and if you have that kid that wants to play at the professional level, when you're in college now, you can be like, I'm transferring pretty much like anytime you want. Mm-hmm. Once you get to the pros, you got a contract. Mm-hmm. You can't just leave when times get tough or what it is. And that's where the guy was saying, like, he sees a lot of guys in football start to have like young guys have had some issues with that, and pro scouts will look at that and be like, how many schools did this guy go to?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I bet you that's the same in baseball. It's the same in basketball and any other sport, that they're looking at like, how committed actually are you?
Absolutely. It goes back to the point that we were talking about in terms of not because of travel baseball, but more of what we're seeing in terms of families, not just players, not just parents, but like all together, people really uncomfortable with like failure or feeling like they get to a certain level and now they're bigger than like where they came from. You know, it's and it's affected the overall quality of the sport. You know, in baseball in particular. I don't want to speak for other sports, but again, we see it playing out in real time. We go to games and to observe either some of our current players or future players, whatever, and we observe the parent behavior, we observe the dugout behavior, we observe how students like support one another, and so much of what we coach during the summer is like just how to be a good teammate, you know, and like how to be an actual part of a team and what that means, and how to separate the noise from the stands. And even if it's your parent in the car on the way home, and like, you know, being able to kind of compartmentalize that and not have it affect like what you're doing as a part of this group, which is bigger than you, you know, and that's
we address parents
we did it the other night
at every practice that we run and every event that we run. We address all the parents as well, because it's a learning moment for them too, about understanding expectations. I bet you their son or daughter is trying their absolute best. They did not want to make that error right there. I swear to God, I could put money on it. But at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't really understand the process of it. And in that moment, this is a teaching moment. Like, this is something that we can actually use to fuel you to get better, instead of, you know,
doesn't mean you're a bad player for making an error.
You're terrible, blah, blah, blah. Like,
come on.
Like, Jesus, dude.
I was literally
relax.
at a high school sectional game where a kid got in the box. He took strike one, like down the middle. And the father was standing next to me and literally just started yelling at his kid. Come on, you can't let that go. What are you doing? I couldn't help myself. I said, sir, I'm sorry. Do you have money on the game? Like, what's... He's like, oh, well, you know... I was like, well, that's definitely not going to help him. And it was way out of character for me, but it's like I just reached a point.
Yeah, Ryan doesn't, no confrontation from this guy right
no,
here. Zero.
I just can't. Or there was a parent involved in the Expo where, again, it had gone, there was a pattern and it had gone on. And again, there was an at-bat. I was coaching third base. Kid like swung and missed. The father audibly let something out. You can see the kid looking kind of out of the corner of his eye. He ends up like striking out or whatever. And I went over to him and I said, you have to stop yelling at him while he's playing baseball. It'd be the equivalent of you trying to raise a crop, a plant, and hoping it blossoms. And every day you just chop it down and hope that it someday is going to turn into this flower. It's not. You're literally defeating the. I know it comes from a good place of wanting them to be successful and pushing them and doing the things that parents do. I'm not a parent, so I understand. But from our perspective, we see the negative impact and the limitations it places on kids. And if they can get free of that, or if a parent can have a shift in perspective and understand how that is affecting the outcome, then we're now we have a chance to actually make improvements.
Because it breaks the long-term investment, right? Which is love and passion. If your parent is just hammering you,
God,
where does that go?
I'm not good at confrontation either. If you just be good and go, hey, parent, just like go to therapy for a little bit and then come back here, that would be great.
It's usually me going up to somebody and my famous line are going, where are the scouts? Where are they? There's nobody here. There's nobody here. Well, why are we doing this right now? You know, in retrospect to the game and trying to get better, we're doing everybody a disservice because now everybody else is going, look at this guy. This is not fun, you know, and it becomes tumultuous, you know, sometimes, you know, with what we've seen from parents and everything like that. But, you know, I'm not
confrontational, but I'm very passionate about it. So it doesn't, I don't hold back on that topic because I know how much I loved it, and as a player and as a youth, and you know my parents, God bless them, like they were silent. They just went, supported me, enjoyed the game, and maybe gave me some tips after, or knew to leave me alone if it didn't go well or whatever. Yeah. But I watched some of my best friends, and their parents were like all over them, and it's just not the same experience. And same thing for, you know, any little league coaches out there that are listening. It's like I grew up playing
when I was coming up, and you guys may remember this as well, it's like you get drafted for certain teams, you're hoping you play with your buddies, things like that. I ended up on certain teams where maybe I was unhappy, like, oh, I'm not playing with my friend over there or whatever, but I ended up with some great role models and baseball coaches, guys that were doing it for the right reasons, that instilled this like love of the game and like almost like a protective layer of like, you know, you strike out, you have a bad game, whatever, but they're there to like pump you up and support you, and it's all right, you know, did you have fun, and kind of keep it in the right perspective, so that I really do feel like that helped me accelerate like through that age of like 11, 12, 13. So by the time I got to high school and now, you know, was you know, getting pretty good at pitching and things like that, it was like I turned a corner. Whereas I feel like a lot of kids, again, we went to a game a couple weeks ago where it's like it's just a huge barrier. And it's a shame, and it's just something that we have the power to address within at least our own organization. And so we take the opportunity to do it as often as possible.
I mean, that's why baseball technically is dying in the community. It's because what's going on at home.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen it for 7 years now. You know, the deterrent most of the time is at home. You know, and that's was eye-opening.
They stop playing baseball?
Oh, yeah. Stop playing. Baseball is more failure than it is success.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have that hammering down on you every single time you fail, and you only get, you know, say 3, you hit 300. You only have 3, you did a good job. Psst. At the end of the day, you're like, I'm having more strife than fun.
Especially at 12 years old, 11, 13. Like,
yeah.
you're not going to have fun at that
with today's
age.
times, it's a slower paced game. Lacrosse is growing like crazy, what
Yeah.
we see around here. It's like a quicker game.
Yeah. Ryan and I try to combat that with the Expo. We have an Instructs League. So we have, you know, 2 or 3 teams that play against each other with a pitching machine. We did 7 innings the other day in an hour and 10 minutes. It negates a lot. You know, there's no balls and strikes, really. They're all just, you know, strikes. And also, kids that are younger aren't afraid of getting hit by the baseball, you know, trying to instill that love into them that, you know, baseball is a fun thing, you know, to be able to do. And then we graduate them, and we have a team on the side of that to be able to take the kids that show up every day and have good attitudes and who are super talented, and then we play regular season games with them as well. So, you know, with that Instructs League, Ryan and I can get out into the field real time. You know, game time situation's a lot different than practice situation, you know, but it's still, you know, practice, you know, so we're able to, you know, corral them, teach them, and be able to give them kind of that firsthand experience. Like, you know, you make an error, we run out to shortstop, I talk to them while, you know, maybe we're pitching another baseball or whatnot, you know, tell them to get ready. Hey, you maybe went wrong this way, and here's how to correct it. And, you know, we found it to be really awesome also with the retention and also formulating that love for the game.
Well, I think that's really good because, like, you're creating game-like situations. And we've talked about this with lacrosse and other sports, is you're not going to have the just like you go out and play with your friends.
Yeah, you have to recreate that backyard
You have to create
play.
that uncontrolled, you know, environment.
Yeah, a little bit unsupervised.
So by this league or this form of instruct, it allows you to have teachable moments in the game, in a game-like situation, but it's also not taking 7 hours because you have a pitching machine. Whereas in actual game-like situations, you can't stop the game.
Correct.
And be like, hey, you did this wrong. Let's fix this here. In this, you can be like, hey, we're going to stop for a second. Let's go over what just happened.
Yes.
And now let's get back to it. Done.
And you want to hear the best part about it? It's free to participate.
Yeah.
Ryan and I fundraise for the whole thing. Every single pillar is fundraised to the nth degree, to where somebody can walk in and request something, need help, and Ryan and I do it for completely free.
That's incredible. So, yeah, all your funds in terms of traveling, umpires, teams, all fundraise
All
you
of it,
too.
yeah.
That's
All of
incredible.
it's fundraised.
That's awesome.
It's the most impressive part.
Yeah.
And I just think that, again, it's like because like almost like our billboard pitch is like, if you love baseball and you want to improve or you have aspirations of getting better, etc., then this program is for you. Like, come out, see what it's all about, participate. And honestly, we do like zero promotion. Like, you go onto our social media, whatever. It's really not that. It's not like a frequent posting and things like that.
We don't post every
everything
day.
Everything is word of mouth. Like, everything that all the expansion we've gotten of numbers or number of kids, et cetera, over the years has all been word of mouth or people just knowing like what we're doing. It's
some
not
partnerships have been huge and influential in all of that. And, like Ryan said, it's all been, word of mouth. I'm not a marketer. No, that's not my strong suit. Ryan's not a marketer. He thinks he is a little bit.
He's a DJ.
He is a DJ.
No, but honestly, it's one of those things that's kind of held us back, I think, is that Eric and I are not self-promoters. We're not comfortable putting ourselves out there and our thing, and here's what we're doing, and look at us. Like, that's just not who we are, not who I'll ever be. It's not what I'm comfortable doing, and it's not what the Expo is about, honestly. The Expo is about access, and it's about those pillars. Kind of going back to the pillars, it's like we have a 4-season program, so each season of the year, we have different programming appropriate for the time of year. Obviously now with the summer, it's, the summer baseball team and some of the things that go with that. In the fall, it's really the academic advising piece really comes forward in addition to the baseball.
Yeah.
But now we're doing a lot of the college prep stuff. We have individual meetings that we do with families or with kids as they go through the college application, college selection process, financial aid process. We do basically on-call advising for all of that. As we move into the winter months, it gets more indoors, more of the winter training.
Yeah, strength and conditioning, mobility, take BP swings.
And then in addition to
blah, blah.
baseball, whether it's special guest speakers, community service events, some of those things are, all 3 pillars are intertwined into the 4-season program so that we can just be very consistent about delivering those messages and giving the kids opportunity. Because also too, travel baseball, etc. These clubs are operating year round. So we can't do it just like half the time or a quarter of the time and think that kids are going to get everything out of it or be able to kind of keep up with some of the other programs or some of their peers.
It's hard because travel teams are doing it year round, and some of the bigger high schools around here, like Shen, for example, they're also running their school programs year round. And what's crazy is they're running paid school programs year round. So now you're telling me I have a barrier to my travel team, a financial barrier. And now if I can't shell out a couple grand for my high school, I may fall behind and not be able to play for my school team.
Yes.
That's wild to me.
Eric, what's your favorite question to ask when it comes to paying to play?
I got a lot of them. What is it?
What are you paying for?
Oh my God. What are you paying for? What are you paying $2,500 for? You go on this travel ball team and it's this elite team, $2,500. What is it for?
What is it actually for?
What do you
tell me what
do
you're
you
paying
get?
for? Yes.
You get a dad that his son's on the team and he's coaching you too. That guy is never going to give you the same love that he's going to give his son. There's these certain aspects of the team that just go under the wayside because of people have been doing this a long time. We're trying to get the mindset to shift a little bit. What are you getting for $1,500? $1,000?
I like that question.
That's out. But not only this, but and we're gonna get the juices flowing now because we both feel very passionate about this.
Paul,
but
give me another alchemy for flowing the juices. Give me a one. You boys want one? Or you
No,
good?
I'm good.
I'll take one.
Still working on a coffee.
Tropical or raspberry lemonade?
What's a good one? What do you got for me?
Take the black.
Jordan says take the black.
Jaron says take the black.
Absolutely.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
All right, let's flow the juices, boys.
That's great. I'm
Absolutely.
gonna drink some coffee. But yeah, not just. Again, I understand why it's gotten to this point.
It's good, everybody.
Delicious. Drink alchemy.
Delicious.
Shout out.
Shout out Alchemy.
Shout out to Alchemy.
You know what? My alchemy's empty, so
You gonna go too, Paul?
you can have 2 coasters. I'm not going another one.
Oh, okay.
But again, the money, what are you getting for the cost of participating in these teams that go beyond baseball? That's like the biggest thing for me. It's like, are they helping you learn how to write a resume? Are they teaching you about what a car loan looks like? Are they talking to you? Are they just asking you how's life? What do you want to do?
I mean,
outside of baseball?
Absolutely. We do a lot of financial literacy. We do a lot of real life stuff how do you change a tire? We have mechanics come in.
That's
and
awesome.
How do you
teach
tie a tie?
How do you tie a tie? You know what I mean? We have people in the
Jordan,
community
you know
that
how to
come
tie a tie?
through.
Yes, sir.
Mike, you know how to tie a tie?
Yep, Steve Jennings taught me in the 7th grade.
Actually, I feel like I remember that.
But you remember it.
I was 28 before I knew how to tie a tie. I played baseball my whole life. I wore a baseball uniform. I didn't know shit about being formal. And, I didn't even know if you had a wedding that I needed to send money. I just said no. I'm not going. I have baseball. I was like, oh,
You're
damn.
RSVP. No.
Right. It's like, okay, I'm done with that one. But there was a lot of things in my life that I missed out on that should be taught at the younger level to be able to prepare them for real life. You know, like Ryan said, how do you write a resume? What's a credit score? Hey, like what age did you really start comprehending what your credit score was all about? You know, and Ryan and I really try to put that in the faces of the kids.
And think about, you know, like it's just, you know, our starting points in life. Everybody's different. Kids you see, they probably have a starting point that's much lower than where all of us started out. And because they're, you know, people who started off more well off, either their parents or their grandparents or somebody else had some money and they knew what to do with the money, right?
Yes.
They understood credit,
Yes.
building credit, investing. And it's like, why can't everybody learn about that?
Absolutely.
You know, that's a huge piece.
When I got to Wheaton College, as a kid from Watervliet, New York, I don't know. I thought everyone on earth was the same. I thought everything was the same. Like all communities were the same, whatever. And I was a little bit of a fish out of water there just because of the socioeconomic pieces, you know, and that is always kind of like ringing in my brain as we're working with our kids. It's like, how am I going to get, you know, this kid ready for what awaits him if he, you know, he wants to go to college, he wants to go away to school, things like that. How do we prepare him for, quote unquote, like the real world, like what he's gonna run into along the way, and how can he be best prepared to navigate that as a student, as an employee, as a baseball player, student athlete, whatever, as a family member. Those are, you know, really at the heart of the values of what we're trying to do with the Expo.
This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Anchor and the all-new Anchor Pro, crafted to endure the most high-performance workouts without the high cost and space requirements of a standard cable machine. Named the best portable cable machine by Men's Health Home Gym Awards, Anchor provides the full functionality of a cable machine in one small space-saving unit. Designed with user-friendliness in mind, Anchor can simply be attached to any squat rack or placed on any wall in your home gym using its intuitive sliding track mount. With up to 65 pounds of resistance, Anchor is built for high speed and controlled exercises alike, from cable presses and rows to chops and lifts. The Anchor has been a game changer for us here at CDSF, and now you can enjoy the same professional quality cable machine in your own home gym by heading over to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Get all the benefits of a cable machine without the high cost and installation fees. Enjoy the portable luxury and space-saving performance of Anchor today by going to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 at checkout. That's anchortraining.com, promo code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Drink Alchemy. Fatigue and brain fog affect us all, destroying everything we pursue. Whether as an athlete, artist, creator, or entrepreneur, our mind holds the key to performing optimally. By combining the most potent organic nootropics found in nature, Drink Alchemy delivers sustainable boost to creativity, memory, energy, and focus in one epic beverage. Stop pumping your body full of excessive amounts of caffeine and unknown proprietary blends from other energy drinks, and get clean energy from Drink Alchemy's natural nootropics like lion's mane, L-theanine, and caffeine from green tea. Used by Olympians, D1 athletes, MMA fighters, and entrepreneurs, Drink Alchemy has become a huge part of my daily routine, making sure I'm functioning optimally during long days of coaching athletes, running CDSF, and getting in quality workouts myself. So do yourself a favor and ditch the energy drinks loaded with caffeine, other stimulants, and who knows what else, and head over to drinkalchemy.com today. Live with your mind unbound and save 10% off your order by using code CDSF at checkout. That's drinkalchemy.com, promo code CDSF for 10% off your order today. How much were you with kids during COVID, like the lockdown?
Yeah. So
How much does that impact, you know, kids that you work with, where probably everything they need and everything that's good, a lot of things that are good for them are outside of the home?
Mm-hmm. I feel like 2020 was a really strange year where it went from looking like we weren't going to be able to do anything to like a bonanza of activity where it was almost like there were just all these rogue like games popping up, showcase. Like it was just almost like people were preparing for not having baseball and finding ways to have events and our league and things like that. But then all of a sudden everyone was doing it. So all of a sudden it was one of my busiest summers. But we found that a lot of our kids were like, we were their opportunity to like get out of the house and to do something physical, some physical activity. And it gave us the opportunity to offer more things frequently throughout that summer. But it was a real thing in terms of how it, you know, impacted households, or how, you know, we had a couple of players I'm thinking of that kind of fell off around the COVID time because they you know, and I understand they were just they were less apt to participate around groups of people, or they weren't working out or showing up with the same frequency, so they kind of fell behind and then kind of fizzled. It's totally understandable, but it's still, I still take it with me. Like it's kind of a shame, you know, but luckily now a few years later, it's like hopefully has opened up in a way where, you know, we've moved past some of that. We're seeing it now with, I think, the college age population. You know, a lot of the kids now that are entering college or just started college are part of that COVID generation, right? So they've kind of grown up in a different way and had a different high school experience than a lot of us did. But I'm thinking it's kind of getting back to normal as much as possible in recent times.
Yeah. Eric, your baseball careers, you played for how many teams?
Like organizations wise, just two.
Two.
Like Mets in Baltimore, but went all throughout the whole systems in both. The only stop I didn't make with the Mets was AAA. Went all throughout the system, AAA, all throughout the system with Baltimore. Went to Canada, played for the Capitals. Went down to New Jersey, played for the Jackals. Yeah, it was a lot. A lot.
Yeah, when did your eyes first get open talking about college sports being a business now to like, I'm playing baseball, but I'm intertwined in business as well?
In college.
Yeah.
In college, it stopped. It didn't have the little league or high school feel anymore. You know, it was more like a business. It was more like, didn't matter kind of what, you know, your last name was. It was more of like, you know, you're a number and you're going to perform. And this is a business, and if you don't get the performance and have expectations that you hit, then you're done, you know. And that really opened up my eyes. I was like, shit, you know, this is intense, you know. But I love the intensity. I love the pressure. You know, it's where I felt the most alive. And you know, I was fortunate to have that kind of mentality. I had a good father, really good dad. You know, he was honest. He was a brute, but he was loving. You know, he definitely shaped me into the baseball player I was, and had to take that mentality. He came from Troy too, not the best area. And it was that kind of dog, that savage mentality to be able to go out there and get it, you know, and not kind of hold anything back was something that when I was there and I noticed that, I was like, fuck it, let's fucking go.
But that shows with your comeback too, because injuries, labrum,
Yep.
kind of
Tore
ended
both of my labrums and both of my hips.
hip
Yeah.
labrums.
Hip labrums. I was just born with extra bone on my femur bone.
Yeah.
Wore away my labrum. You know, nothing that I did. It was just a time aspect of when it was going to happen. And, you know, I was pretty, you know, I every day in the gym, once or twice a day. I took everything in the gym very seriously. You know, I had probably I always said I had 3 warm-ups before my actual warm-up on the field. You know, hot tub, cold tub, you know, myofascial release, and then my own kind of mobility. And then I'd go out in the field and do a warm-up. People don't really, you know, understand that kind of intensity to be able to perform day after day with this kind of, you know, 100%, you know, effort, you know, and you need to be able to kind of have that plan for yourself to be able to do that.
A lot of people also don't focus on all that stuff that you just talked about before, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't focus on the warm-up. They half-ass the warm-up, or they go through the motions. Same thing with like recovery, right? Where those things,
The biggest things.
right?
The biggest things.
Once you get into the routine and you put in the work and you're doing the work, now the thing that matters more is the prep and the post. Those things matter more than anything.
Yes.
One of the
without
biggest
question.
things I noticed, people would ask me all the time, going from Division III Wheaton to coaching on the Cape, they'd say, like, what's the difference between like coaching on the Cape and the players you see at Wheaton? And without a doubt, it was how seriously they took themselves in terms of investing into their body, in terms of taking care of themselves, in terms of the preparation, in terms of the post throw. It was almost easier as a pitching coach. Like, I didn't have to like police guys. It was just like a check-in. It was like, hey, you know, yeah, I got my routine, I'm doing it. And they were like so diligent about it. And it taught me a lot as a coach in terms of what it actually looks like, right? Like what it's supposed to look like, and kind of being able to bring that to the quote unquote Division III level. But you see how it's a separator, and certainly it, you know, as a professional athlete, it could be that little edge where, you
Oh,
know,
absolutely. I mean, I was in the era of steroids.
Yeah.
You know, I was offered steroids, never did steroids.
Was it prevalent? You saw it? A lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
guys were using
Oh, yeah,
steroids?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Because
It
your
was
minor league career, what were the years again?
2008 to 2014, something like that. Something like that. I forget. PTSD. Yeah, I mean, I definitely was offered them. But I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I felt like I'd let my father down too, actually. Yeah. He was a big, you know, kind of in my mind, you know, he was always about the hard work and the persistence and everything like that. And that's what I felt like I was also giving. And I was at a different level at that time than most of the guys, because I didn't just focus on the pre and post. It was every meal that I went in my body, what kind of sleep I was getting at night. It was every facet of being the fine-tuned machine that I wanted to be, right. You know, and it was a lifestyle. Like, people want to get to a certain level. It has to become your life.
I mean, just look at the NBA. Everybody talks about it. But the guy, LeBron, puts how much money into his body every year. And there's a reason why he does it, because he knows what that will do for him. And Absolutely. If you invest in your body, and he also knows, this is my moneymaker.
Yes.
This was the thing that made me all this money that I've gotten now and been able to help my family is my body.
Absolutely.
So he reinvests into that. Even like Russell Wilson, I think, invests some crazy amount of money into his body. They have the money to be able to do it, but you were doing it even without the financial capability of being able to do what necessarily some of the stuff they may be able to do.
Right.
But you still were putting in all that
How
extra
hard
time.
was it financially when you were in the minors? I mean, it's different now, right? Isn't pay higher now?
Oh, dude, it was terrible.
That's part of the reason why they got rid of the teams.
Yeah, it was absolutely
like,
terrible.
what was, explain to people so they understand, like, what?
Minor league pay for me, like, every 2 weeks was like $850, like $850. Like, I got drafted in the 9th round. I got $90K. You know, after taxes, I was looking at like $54,000. Like, so, you know.
And that's 9th round. I mean, that's
right.
early in the draft.
Right.
Man.
That's pretty early in the draft, but, you know, that was weaned out, that $54,000 over 7 years, because, you know, at the end of the day, I wanted to eat something decent instead of PB&Js every freaking day.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to be able to have these experiences sometimes to do that too. But people don't understand, I guess, you know, there is certain ways that you can also understand yourself to get to a certain level. You know, like the sleep aspect, right? You know, like LeBron and Russell Wilson, they're going to hyperbarics chambers. Like, that's where the money's being spent and everything. You could just get a good 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, it will have not the same effect, but we're
Over
talking
time.
about pretty close, you know? And, you know, at the end of the day, it's just about, you know, what you're willing to do for your goals and dreams. That's really, it's so simple. I say that to everybody. I'm a kid from Troy, New York. You know what the difference between you and me was? I showed up every freaking day, no matter what it was, no matter if it was raining, no matter if it was snowing. I did not care. I wanted to ride my bike over to Carroll Hill near Grizzled Heights and throw a baseball that I'd carry over until my arm hurt. I was like, I worked hard today. My arm is killing me. You know, like,
Give me some Advil and you
right.
go.
Back then, you know, I think about it now. I'm like,
Well, how
that
much
was
too?
not well. That wasn't good.
08 to 2014 or whatever that span was that you were in the minors. Did you see the shift and the introduction of technology being used during
Yes.
those years? I feel like that's the prime
Big time.
time where tech and data kind of just started to show
Big
its head in
time.
baseball.
Big time. That's why you have so many people coming out of the bullpen. They just throw 100. Cheese.
What's
Just
your
cheese.
first memory of tech and data being presented to you and being used?
The Mets at spring training in 2008, 2009 had a pitching machine that could replicate, it was like a projector that could replicate somebody's form to be able to throw out of a hole, basically. So if I was we were going to go against Randy Johnson, basically you could have his arm angle be where it like delivered the baseball. And, you know, you could kind of mimic what he was going to do, or you can just watch him so you could time up his, you know, the pitches that he was going to throw. That was really the first time. But then, you know, the analytical data with like the Rapsodos and the Trackmans, and I think Trackman was later, but along those same lines, the things that you could start kind of picking out to be able to pair up exercises with so you could get stronger, you know, the output of power,
Yeah.
you know, and then be able to, put some things on there like exercises and mobility, flexibility, strength, yada, 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 create a program to really hone in on those weak points, and now, back then I was pricking my finger to see how much glucose I had in my blood to be able to recover after workouts, because I wanted my sugar levels to be higher so I could, digest the protein a little bit better and utilize that a little bit better, and those little things right there kind of all, transpired as, the tech piece started. Now I can get blood work done and see exactly kind of the cocktail I need to be able to just be fine-tuned machine every single day.
I think the crazy part is, right at the professional level, that's so important because every little sliver can help elevate you past someone else. But I think kids have to keep in perspective because they probably see, these modalities, these exercises, these treatments online and think, yeah, I need that. You need 8 hours of sleep.
Correct.
You need enough calories.
Absolutely.
Enough protein. Lift weights
Absolutely.
twice a week.
Let's go at the base level first.
Right, let's get this foundation, these big rocks, please.
Absolutely. Let's get consistent. Not for 1 week because everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And they do it for 1 week. Yeah. Good for you. Do it come talk to me when you got 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years under your belt. Because then you're dealing with just a different kind of animal, a different kind of athlete.
Well, everybody takes that pyramid of getting better for your sport or fitness or whatever, and they flip it upside down because the things at the top they want to do, or the thing at the top they think is like that shortcut.
The thing at the top is, Paul, is specificity, right?
Specificity. Or like in our industry, in the fitness industry, to me, the thing at the top is like the supplements, right?
We're talking nutrition,
right.
Yes, of course.
Everybody wants to go get that quick fix for in the fitness industry, so they go to the top and go to the supplement rather than okay, let me focus on nutrition, sleep, getting in a good routine, doing some exercise.
Yeah.
This, and there's 27 things you can do before you start adding in anything like that.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with youth sports or any sport is we take this we do too specific where it should be at the top, and instead of working on mental performance, sleep habits, nutrition,
quality movement,
we're focusing on I gotta do this pitching lesson with this person, I got to do this with this person, this with that person because I see this online, and it's that's not how it works.
Absolutely. This grandiose of a dream, this kind of this mindset that if I get this supplement, I'm able to do X, Y, Z. No, dude, you need to just show up every day.
Yeah, that's not step one.
That's it.
Well, I think a lot of it too comes down to again, coaching and advising, who's advising these athletes outside of the home. Because I know, parents well-intentioned and all that, but at the same time, not every kid has an Eric Beaulac to look up to, or, somebody that's been through it or has a feel for it or can kind of stay on them consistently. There's a lot of voices that pop up, randomly over time and, like you said, very short term, but over the long term, who's actually advising you? And it gets back into the whole thing about what are you paying for? Because I talk about that all the time. Who's actually advising these kids through the process and really directing them in the way that's going to actually matter, not just look good or kind of flash in the pan.
And learn about yourself and create this filter for yourself. I think when I was out at Cressy's, he may have used this analogy, but it's we all have our own toolboxes or tool belts, and you're going to encounter how many coaches, strength coaches, trainers, pitching coaches, assistant coaches did you have in your career? A tremendous amount, probably, Eric.
Absolutely.
And you got to listen, take in the info, what's going to help me, what maybe isn't, what it's this constant information. You have to filter and know, hey, what's going to be good for me?
Absolutely. Cressy's a legend.
Legend. I mean, when I was
He's
there,
a legend.
when I was there, 2012 or 13, it's that was early Matt Blake. He was the first guy who I first saw integrating tech with movement assessments, with pitching lessons, and kind of integrating it all. How somebody move, how's the baseball moving when he throws it, and then how can I create programs to change all these things, change how their range of motion is, change how their body moves, change how the ball's moving. Yeah, and that was 2012, 12 years ago now.
Yeah, well, he's been with the Yankees for a little bit now.
He's with the Yankees now. But it's it's just incredible.
That is incredible.
And Matt's got a great quote when I heard him speak, or we were speaking a couple of years ago at a conference, and he talked about holding players accountable in their motions and in their work based on the profile that the technology. I think the conversation was around how do you merge technology with the real thing and the real life, and ultimately coaching the players. And he just talked about how the Rapsodo and the TrackMan thing, it gave him an opportunity to look at what a player did well and then be able to hold them accountable to the motion and the methodology that was going to allow them to do that successfully over time. And I think that's something I've certainly carried with me and learned from him in terms of integrating the technology with being able to coach players in real time and actually get them good at baseball, not just throwing a bullpen or throwing on the side.
Because when you see it it's a lot, most athletes are pretty visual. So you see it and you go, oh, that's what I did? And then you just go, okay, I just got to keep trying to do that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier as a coach to be like, yeah, here it is. Not like, this is what you did, this is what you did, this is what you did, X, Y, and Z. You go, it's right here. Just
Absolutely.
watch.
Yeah.
And here I'll do that sometimes. I'll literally just take a video. I'll be like, did you feel that? And they go, no. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to do another set. I take a video. I go, this is what you just did. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, yeah. Like, we just got to clean it up a little bit.
Video continues to be the best of all the technology. I mean, I know the micro level of information that we can get from the Rapsodo and, the measuring spin rates and measuring tilt and things like that, but ultimately being able to show a kid, like, this is what you just did. Is this what you want it to look like? Yes, no, whatever. That continues to be, the best tool and weapon I think any coach has, that we all literally have in our pockets at all time.
Because most of the time you're not gonna be able to put yourself, like, if you want to give them a visual like that's video-esque, but it's yourself, like, there's times like I try to put myself in a position that a kid gets into. I'm like, I don't even know how you got into this position to let alone get me into that position. This hurts.
Right.
And I'm not even there yet. I'm like, I don't know how you just did that. So, like, again, the visual of themselves doing it, and then they see themselves and they're like, oh. And they're also like, and then if I get a good video of them, I go, hey, you want me to post this for you? Like, it gives them a little boost of confidence, and then all of a sudden, boom, now we're taking off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the craziest environment you ever pitched in, Eric?
That's a great question. God.
Like, you were just the most amped up.
You know what? If anybody hasn't seen a game, go down to the Brooklyn Cyclones in New York, in Coney Island.
Mm-hmm.
It's electric. Like, 12, 15,000. And, if anybody's ever been to Dominican Republic, going and watching baseball down there, I think that's the most electric environment you can be in, is like the Dominican. Every pitch they are lingering on like it's the World Series. If you throw a ball, the crowd erupts if you throw a ball. You throw a strike, bands play, bang, bang, bang. There's tambourines, boom, boom. The Brooklyn Cyclones was electric. The environment was insane. And it was just baseball at a really high level, because Brooklyn was low A short season at the time. It still is, but they put all their, the highest draft picks there. So everybody in the New York Penn League were the highest draft picks of that year. So there was a lot of hype around that league, and there's a lot of people that came out and watched. And that was one of my most fond memories, actually, was pitching down there. And when I was pitching in like AAA and Georgia Rome playing the Braves, that was insane. I went to the Connie Mack World Series. That was something in my head, not even pro ball. That was absolutely insane. We played the home team, the Farmingdale, and all the home crowd came out. I think it was like 20,000 that were there. That was wild. But yeah, I could go on forever.
Yeah, man. Yeah. What about guys? Baseball's crazy superstitious, and guys with routines. What's the wildest routine or superstition you saw with a guy in your career, Eric?
Probably can't say it on radio, but some other ones.
Keep it PG-13 on those.
Yeah. The guys would eat something the same day for 162 days. That was crazy. They have this certain things. You go out to the field, you take a shower, you go out to the field, you take another shower, then it's game time, you do your hair. These certain routines that you're like, dude, what are you doing? Chill a little bit. And, you don't need to take 3 showers before you guys do the game. Relax. The water bill's crazy.
It's like, I'm only getting $850 every 2 weeks. What are we doing?
Seriously.
How do you split up the age groups with the kids for the Expo?
So it started off as 18 and under, so that we could have 15, 16-year-olds that were playing up. We really wanted to focus on the high school demographic. which we've had some success with. And then we actually moved into like an 18 plus model as well. So that as our kids kind of start to quote unquote age out, we were actually able to extend the line to be able to work with them. Actually, last summer we were playing in like a 25 and under league. So we sort of moved into like this young professionals model where we weren't kind of giving the kids away as they entered college at 18. We were able to kind of work with them through college and in some cases into their first job.
I think that's cool because
I think that's awesome.
that's another transition period
Correct.
in life.
Yeah, and it's like, and it felt very like disconnected when 18 years old, like they're applying to college, and it was like, okay, like come back and next year and help us out or whatever. And now we're able to really see them. In fact, we just had a kid the other day ask for letter of reference as he's looking for his first teaching job, and it's really really satisfactory to be able to kind of be on that level with them because ultimately, again, that's what's like most important to us is getting them into a career that's fulfilling to them, that they can take care of themselves and live a life of their own. And now we have the junior prospect level. I think that's what we labeled it, which is speaking to that Little League graduate up to like 15, basically the former like Babe Ruth age, the 13 to 15 year old model, which now will kind of serve as a feeder program to our 18 and under crowd. And the coolest thing about this year, we were talking about the other night, is now we have Expos that were with us back in 2018, 2019, and were with us for 5 or 6 years that are now coming back to serve as coaches for those younger teams, which is really,
that's awesome.
just really just satisfactory for just takes such great satisfaction. I said the other day, it's like a dream come true. It's what we've envisioned over the long term. And Eric said the other night, like our practice the other night was one of the best ones in Expo history for that reason, because we had 3 of them, one on the field with the kids during instructs, 2, one in each dugout. Eric and I were in the field, and it ran so well. And we wouldn't be able to do as much as we do without their support. Also, shout out to Ryan Bruno, who's been coming out this year, basically not even being prompted or asked to do it, but has shown up.
Not even a baseball guy, really.
No,
played baseball in Little League, and that's about it.
No, but has shown up every week, has handled our registration. It used to be that, I'd be on the field and a family would arrive late and I'd have to like run over and pull out the paperwork and do it and wait. And I'm there and I'm running back, whatever. Ryan's there to like greet them. The kids know to sign in with him. He's brought like water and all these things. And it's just been, it's been so huge because it has unlocked our ability to do other things to make the program better, and it's just overall just a great look. And I can't thank him enough, and a lot of the other volunteers that have helped us along the way.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, when McNeff first gave me your guys' names, they went on your website and looked, it was like, yeah, it's a special thing. It's especially just as we've seen the world like you guys have of youth sports evolve and becoming such a big business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like we said, just to be able to play and to participate, there's this cost to it that adds up and is pretty astronomical over the year. So to have an outlet for kids who may not have those opportunities or be in situations where they can afford all these camps and lessons and play and have these experiences.
Or even on the level, Kyle McNeff is a great example of somebody who loved it so much he could do it every day, right? But like, what does that look like in terms of cost, travel, etc.? But we would open up, like we'll have team practice, we'll have a game, whatever. But then on certain days, I'd be like, hey, I'm just going to offer extra BP today to whoever wants it. Kyle would be like the first one there, and it was great. It kind of fed us a little bit too in terms of, okay, like, we're going to show up for you. And we say all the time, it doesn't matter if one kid shows up, 3 kids, 5 kids, 20, 40 kids, we're going to do our thing regardless. We're going to be there. It's not going to cost anything. You're going to hear from a former pro. You're going to hear from a college coach. We're going to give you everything we have. We're going to treat you like a pro. We're going to talk to the family as a whole. We're not just going to, pull the kid and do our thing and then turn them back over. It's really a 360-degree experience, and kids like Kyle. And it also proves, too, that like it doesn't have to be just, or I guess what I want to say is like the Expo is not just for like certain communities, right? Or like this community, but not this community. It's really for, if you're a baseball lover and you see a future in it, then we have something for you. And we don't really distinguish between that. Everyone talk about contracts and things. Like one of the first things they do when they sign up for the Expo is we have a player contract for them. It's like, oh, you want to be a pro baseball player? The first thing you're going to have to do is sign a contract. Have you ever seen a contract? Do you know what's in it? Do you know how to read it, et cetera? So we have sort of a miniature version of that. And then as long as they uphold the contract, in other words, kind of a player code of ethics, be a good teammate, be a good guy, be coachable, etc. Don't put yourself in harm's way, those things, then you're in there, you know. We also make kids submit their report card to be eligible, because it's like an honest look. Like, what is your GPA? Like, this is who you are. Like, you can there was a kid last week who was kind of like afraid to give us his report card, and guess what? It's because he didn't really do good in school. And it was probably within his control to do better. And it was like an opportunity to have a real conversation with a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Could change his life, you know? So there's certain things that we build into it that allow them to participate. But then once they're there, it's, you know, like I said, it's everything they could ever want in terms of the knowledge they're receiving, the activities that they have, and how it connects to like the bigger picture of their life in the future.
Yeah, it's great, man. We could probably go on for hours more, but
Dude, we
Yeah.
could talk about this shit all
We
day.
could talk all day.
we'll do a part 2.
I was gonna say a sequel.
We
Yeah,
should
we'll
do a
do-
nighttime sequel.
Yeah.
Then
Nighttime
we have a
sequel.
little bit longer of a clock, and
Absolutely.
Maybe get a little.
we could get some juice, some other
juice.
juice.
Some other
Absolutely.
juice
Yeah.
flowing,
You
know?
guys should come through the Troy Innovation Garage and bring the setup and everything,
Oh.
and that'd be dope.
Let's do an away game.
Yeah,
I'll
100%.
I'll be
I'm
the away
down
game.
for an away game.
Absolutely.
away
That'd be great.
It's a little bit
Let's
closer than
do it.
Boston would have been.
Jordan lives in Troy.
That's
so
walking
I
distance.
live, and I live in
Walking
East
for him.
Greenbush, so I'm right there. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that.
That'd be sick.
Done. I'm in.
nobody come to East Greenbush to find me.
And also too, if you guys ever want to come down to practice and, you know, check it out or participate or speak to the kids or
Well,
whatever,
I might
like we
have
have
to
we have
BP,
people
you know?
come through
Absolutely.
all the time. Take BP.
Dude, we're not throwing anymore. There's a BP
Oh my
machine,
God.
so you can take BP.
I'm gonna say on the air,
50.
like I have to apologize to all of our players from the past 6 years who have had to deal with my very inconsistent batting practice throwing skills. I probably got our hitters worse.
I asked Ryan if he had the yips. I don't know how many times. Like, you all right, bro?
It was-
You
it
got
was
the yips right
not-
now.
Who-
Jesus.
oh,
good.
Milano threw a nice BP.
Milano
He's a catcher.
on the money.
Always,
all
right?
the time. Matt Milano, you're the best, man. I just automatic.
He's great, man. Shout out to Matt Milano. But yeah, we'll do an away game part 2.
That'd be cool.
And yeah, we'll talk. I'd love to come down and whatever, run the kids through a
Yeah.
warm up, talk
Yeah,
to them,
dude,
whatever,
definitely.
whatever
We
you
would
guys
love
think
that.
is best. So I appreciate you, boys. This was
Thank you.
No,
fantastic.
this is
Thanks,
great.
Eric.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you
Ryan.
guys, really.
I feel like we should close it how we opened it. I feel like, Ryan, tell us a song.
Oh
Let's
God.
talk it up. Let's finish it out.
Wow.
If you're finishing the set right now, what are we closing it out with?
That's so much pressure.
What do we got?
Actually, Eric's better at this because he gets the hype going.
Eric, give us a song. Anything.
Uh,
We're hip hop
What was
guys,
that
but
future song that you
Oh,
like?
that's a great choice already.
Go.
Cinderella?
Ooh,
Was
could
that-
be
was
that.
that the
Or
one?
He used it over various stories of our Instagram
I
last
love
summer.
Future, so
Oh,
Last summer.
God, yes.
Something about the heat.
Oh, yo, I was listening to that coming over here.
Feel the fire.
I was listening to that coming over here. Oh, damn it.
It's right there.
That would be.
Jay's ready. Give it to him, baby.
No. Hold that heat.
Hold that
Hold
heat.
that
I knew
heat.
it was something. Yes.